So I went back and played Transformers Fall of Cybertron recently, and I thought it would make a great video after it was suggested to me in a pub, so I found a way to get my hands on it, and I played the ever-loving crap out of it. This is my Transformers Fall of Cybertron review in 2022 for some reason. Fall of Cybertron focuses on the final battles between the Autobots and Decepticons as Cybertron is on the verge of complete destruction. The Autobots want to leave so they can have an awesome action scene on Earth directed by Michael Bay with no subtlety or character development whatsoever, while the Decepticons are focused on Energon, which the Autobots have to power the ship that will get them to Earth. Now, I couldn't remember anything when it comes to Fall of Cybertron, so I went in as fresh as Bumblebee's character design, and I have to admit, I really expected a pretty average story, but I found myself really enjoying what's here. Maybe I'm just deprived of good Transformers content, but I don't know, I feel like the developers really struck gold with this series. It's no Godfather or Red Dead Redemption 2, far from it, but man, it's good. You get thrown right into it from the get-go, and then from there it's just non-stop action with the occasional stealth section sprinkled in between. Screams, explosions, badass sound design, and some really great voice acting all combine into a proper, authentic Transformers experience. You get to follow both Decepticons and Autobots through this campaign, seeing bits and bobs from both sides without making you feel bad for the Decepticons. You feel the stakes of the story as Cybertron just crumbles around you, seeing panicking Autobots and Decepticons around every corner begging for help, to then be rallied up by Warpath to face a threat that feels almost impossible to beat. I'm not kidding when it's non-stop.
Listen up! We got cons right outside this door! When the door opens, we go out hard! You will engage the enemy with guns blazing and gears grinding! Yes, sir! Hit on 3, 2, 1! Go, go, go!
There are some really cool standout moments in the story though. I remember the Dinobots being advertised pretty heavily, but unfortunately they just aren't in the game that much, but the missions where you do have control of them are just awesome. But from a story standpoint, it's easily the most interesting part of the game. Having to watch some of these guys face the fact that they've been mutilated while being captured is just weirdly adult in a Transformers game. I loved every second of those moments. Now, the story itself is short and not a masterclass in any sense. The plot is pretty simple: escape Cybertron with one or two twists with certain characters. So if you do plan to play this game somehow, even though it's pretty much impossible to buy now, just know you're going into a crazy action fest full of one-liners and at times some beautiful visuals and a great soundtrack. Pacing is all over the place though. Some characters get chapters that are significantly longer and some are too short, which is unfortunate, but as an overall package I think it's pretty great. All of this combined brings me to the final mission where you switch from Autobots to Decepticons constantly while using all the mechanics you've learned, while the last bit of the soundtrack starts playing till All for One plays in the background, really ending this game with a great cliffhanger, which unfortunately will never be revealed in a sequel. I mean, you could connect it to the Bayformers, but I'd say you're better off connecting it to the show and not the films, because it's obviously inspired by the show, you know, the original source material. Bay didn't really want to do that apparently, so, you know, Bay does Bay. I'm not doing any spoilers, so if you do want a spoiler review, let me know in the comments, because I'll be happy to do one so we can enjoy our little nostalgia fix. If you are enjoying this review, drop a like to let me know and consider sticking around by subscribing. We're about 100 subscribers away from 13,000, which is just insane, so thank you guys again. As you can see, this is a third-person action linear game, but the best part is there's no stick-to-cover system. I grew pretty tired of press button to be safe routine, so it was nice to have something that had me constantly moving around cover to cover to keep myself safe, so you're just constantly in it. You don't blank out and just peek a corner and then poop, so it was nice to move around for once. Most of the game does play the same though. You run or drive to a specific area, shoot a load of dudes with some badass music playing in the background, and then move on. But there are bits and pieces spread throughout the game that involve some cool platforming and some stealth sections, but they're not particularly fleshed out. You have a bunch of weapons to unlock over the course of the game that you can upgrade. You can't customize them, but you can upgrade them to offer better accuracy, damage, all those little bits that add some sort of choice and personality to your loadouts. All of these upgrades carry over to each character you play as, which is good as well, because no one wants to upgrade the same weapon over and over again, so I was quite happy to see that because I was worried about that. The driving is a little weird on mouse and keyboard though, as it's just not very responsive. I found myself flicking the mouse to go left and right. It feels more like an arcadey, you know, one of those arcade machines where you You drag it to the left, drag it to the right, and it's really slow to respond. It's very weird, but it's not a massive deal since most of the time you won't be transforming into a car since you're shooting for like 95% of this game. There are some pretty basic stealth missions, like I said, where you can cloak, which was pretty cool to have because it spiced up the gameplay loop, but overall those levels felt like gimmicks rather than fleshed out mechanics, which isn't always a bad thing, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more depth. You also unlock a grappling hook at some points, which adds a lot of verticality to some of the missions, which was really fun, like I said earlier, but I think the developers have really struck gold here. It's really annoying it didn't get a sequel. You even get to partner up with Metroplex as Optimus Prime and turn into a robot T-Rex with the Dinobots. There's just so many great little missions, but I just wish they were fleshed out just a little bit more. Gunplay overall is okay, it's not the best ever, but it's certainly not the worst. You will get wiped out if you don't get your positioning right or run out of ammo, so you do need to be careful with how you approach some sections. You get some boss battles as well. Once again, they're just not the best, but they're not the worst. The target audience is kids after all, so I get why it's pretty simple, and honestly, simple isn't always bad, and this is one of those scenarios. The soundtrack is incredible as well. As much as I love some of the music in the Bayformers, because there are some standout scenes in there, it's just a lot more thematically appropriate, I guess you could say. It's a great mix of electronic sounds mixed with some badass choir, and is easily some of the most memorable bits of the game for me. Visuals have aged pretty badly, especially the pre-rendered cutscenes on PC, because I played in 1440p. The cutscenes I'm pretty sure are 720p, so it didn't look great. Well, not the in-game cutscenes, but you know, some of them did look shit. But there are also some incredible shots in this game, particularly the one with B and Optimus with Cybertron in the background. It's just absolutely badass and what Transformers should be. Honestly, there really aren't many negatives for me, despite the age of this game. If you like Transformers in any form and find a way to get your hands on a copy of full Cybertron, it's absolutely worth giving a good playthrough, as it's not too long, but not too short either. So yeah, I really like this game. It's just unfortunate I couldn't play the multiplayer, as I remember having a good time on that over a decade ago. If you want a spoiler review, let me know, I'll happily make it, and Transformers Fall of Cybertron is without a doubt a classic for me. Thank you for watching.